Welcome to Signature Song, the podcast where two friends analyze a musical artist, check out their discography, and try to figure out their signature song, the song that defines them to the world. I am Jorge.
And I'm Lane.
On this episode, we're going to talk about one of the biggest, most ambitious, most commercially successful rock bands of the 90s, alternative rock explosion. A band with massive guitars, massive music videos, massive emotions, and for a while there, a truly alarming amount of cultural power in Generation X. They helped turn alternative rock into arena rock. They are known, among other things, for their artsiness, for some might call their pretentiousness, and also for the antics of their controversial frontman, Mr. Billy Corgan. That's right, they are bald, they are sad, they are from Chicago. We're going to talk about the Smashing Pumpkins. A band that I happen to like very much, although if we really get down to the nitty-gritty of it, I would say most of their output is pretty bad. This is a band This is a band kind of similar to Weezer. I kind of put them in the same bag in that they've been around for a long time. They're still going, right? They have so many albums. But I would say, if we're honest about it, like 80% of the stuff they've put out is kind of crappy. But the stuff that is good, in my opinion, and we're going to get into yours in a little bit, is so good that it just makes it that it fixes everything else. It makes up for anything else, all their shortcomings, all the tepid productions, all the ridiculous triple album projects that never quite come to fruition. It makes up for all of it just because their good albums are so awesome. But I know that you disagree. I don't know. I think you don't like the Smashing Pumpkins.
That's correct. And I can get behind bald and sad. I think that's the vibe, right? But I'll get it out of the way. I really, really do not like this band. I have had people, actually all other guys, who have tried to get me into them at various points in my life. And it started in 12th grade when my friend Nathaniel told me that Melancholy and the Infinite Sadness was his favorite album. And I tried listening to it and I hated it. And I know what you're going to say. I know what you're going to say.
Wait. What do you hate about it? Can you tell me? You try to pin it down. Was it Billy Corgan's voice? Is it just their general songwriting? Is it the sound? What is it? Because to me, it's weird because their sound is so broad. There's so much to it that I wonder what it is that strikes you the wrong way.
Well, what I was going to say is that you're going to be like, you have no right to be supercilious about this, Lane. But I think they are whiny and obvious and jejune. And I find them so boring and so whiny cisgender heterosexual, white guy, I feel about them the same way that I do about Radiohead and Oasis.
I just think it's interesting that you describe the Smashing Pumpkins as fitting into this stereotypical sort of white heterosexual male anger thing, because to me, they're actually one of the least straightforward example of that from this era. I mean, obviously there's anger in their music, there's rage, there's bitterness, wounded ego, all these things. But compared to a lot of other alternative rock bands of, this general scene that we're talking about, I don't know. To me, they have a very strongly feminine or feminized presence through their whole aesthetic. And I don't mean that in soft songs equal feminine. I think there's something kind of ornate and emotionally theatrical about them. They're very flowery. They have song titles like Porcelina of the Vast Oceans and Bullet with Butterfly Wings. And I don't think those titles are trying to project a stripped down masculine sort of cool. They're romantic and melodramatic and a little precious, and Billy Corgan certainly has a lot of that. He's not exactly performing masculinity in Eddie Vedder, Kurt Cobain, Chris Cornell sort of mold. His voice is nasal and high and sometimes childlike and sometimes a little feminine, and it can be grating, but I think it's interesting how he takes on different emotional colors in the use of his voice. He also, famously was roundly mocked at the time for being a little effeminate and being into tarot and being into astrology. He was mocked for all of that. But it fits the band's world. And also, this is not nothing. They are one of the only bands of this era to actually have a female member in the band. They had a woman and a person of color in the band separately.
Well, like the Pixies,
yeah, I'm not saying the only one, but Soundgarden, Pearl Jam, the aforementioned Weezer, the aforementioned Radiohead. It's rare to see a woman playing an instrument, even though in a lot of the cases, the actual bass parts were recorded by Billy Corgan. So it's interesting that you go in that direction. I think there's so much sophistication in Billy's songwriting. I think the chords that he uses are so interesting in many cases. I would push against the obvious claim. I don't think there's anything obvious about how he writes songs. I think we may consider them obvious now because so many of them have become embedded in the pop culture lexicon. But I can't imagine any other band of the era writing something like Galapagos or even something like Mayonnaise. I think their influences are also more interesting than in a lot of these other bands. Like Billy draws from new wave, he draws from shoegaze, he draws from the late 70s punk explosion in a way that in a lot of cases these other bands don't. So I think there's more colors to them. Would you consider the Smashing Pumpkins a grunge band?
Yeah, I would probably characterize them as a grunge band. In my notes, this will come up later, but you mentioned shoegaze. Like, I immediately heard like the My Bloody Valentine influence going over these songs again. I feel like I can't really break them out of that mold for me. I've been so anxious about this episode because I feel like I have such like paltry praise for the things that like I found admirable in their music when we start dissecting the songs, because like compared to our other artists, like I feel like I try to say something nice about everybody. And I like most of the people we've talked about, but like I feel like this is probably the episode where we have the most truly like different opinions since the Taylor Swift episode.
Well, this is not the Lane and Jorge say nice things about an artist podcast, right? We're going to talk about
right, but I try to be generous. That's just me.
But it's surprising to me if you look at the actual music of these 6 songs that we're going to talk about. It's extremely surprising to me that you can't come up with anything positive, because these songs
do have positive things, but it's just crappy like compared to
who? Compared to who? Compared to what?
Literally anyone else.
I'm sorry, that's ridiculous. Like that's silly. These are such interesting songs. Well, we're gonna talk about him.
I told you were saying I was being supercilious about them. Like that.
Well, no, I think it's totally fine if something doesn't hit you in the same way as it hits me. It's happened the other way around too, but. With the Smashing Pumpkins, we were talking about it in the last few days, and we talked about listening to these 6 signature songs that we picked, or these contenders, and you were like, "Well, they're running together in my mind," and I don't understand that. To me, they're so distinct from each other.
They just sound the same to me. Like,
so this is a case where I think like your dislike is like altering how your brain perceives things.
Oh,
yeah, like you don't like it, so they sound the same. But if you actually like look at the chords, look at the melodies, look at the aesthetics of the sound, they don't actually sound the same. They're pretty different. Like, well, we're gonna get into it in a moment. But in this case, it's interesting that we have a band with such a long career, but for the first time in maybe the entirety of this podcast, we're only going to be talking about 2 albums, because with signature song, right, the idea is always to find the songs that have become most emblematic of this artist in terms of how the world views them. And in the case of the Smashing Pumpkins, even though they've had, like we said, a long career, there are really 2 big albums in their career. They have more. They have other significant songs, and obviously their legacy is not just that, but there are two albums that really define them, and they are Siamese Dream and the aforementioned Melancholy and the Infinite Sadness. Those two albums are so big, and they've become so synonymous with the band, regardless of the other stuff that they did, and getting into more like industrial sounds later on, and then later on trying their hand of like synth pop and other types of things. But those two 90s albums are really what the world will always see them as. And also, like I said earlier, the fact that Billy Corgan is kind of a prick who can't stop interrupting his podcast guests definitely plays a part into how the world sees the Smashing Pumpkins. Billy Corgan is such a big figure for them. It kind of colors everything else, in my opinion.
You know, it's not that like I couldn't envision myself in a universe where like I really like the Smashing Pumpkins, and like we've talked about this album before, but growing up, my dad used to play Troubleizing by Rick Ocasek all the time, and Billy Corgan co-produced that album, and Melissa Aufdermar plays on it, and like it's very Smashing Pumpkins vibes, you know. And I still like listen to that album sometimes because I remember how much I enjoyed it like as a kid, and like so and like you said, like the different influences that he draws from are not dissimilar to some of my own like musical touchstones, but I never felt like Billy Corgan spoke to me. And I've never felt like he had anything to say to me.
Yeah. Is it anything to do with his voice?
No, I mean, like, I was thinking when you were talking about him sounding feminine, or for me, it's androgynous. You know, I was thinking specifically about like his voice, and I know that he like wears makeup and stuff too, but like I talk about this in my notes for today. But the vocals in that song to me like remind me a lot of something that you would hear on Loveless, like I said, My Bloody Valentine. Yeah. And
You're talking about Siamese Dream?
Well, like Today, the song Today.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, and like I think, you know, there are elements that I think would have resonated with me at one point or another, but I just don't feel like I hear the lyrical content and I just feel like so like viscerally like put off by it for some reason.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it's going to be fun to talk about them because I happen to love all these songs. Well, I'll say I like all of them. I love 5 of them, and I'm looking forward to discussing them with you. So maybe we can get started with our first contender for Smashing Pumpkins' signature song.
Our first contender for a Smashing Pumpkins signature song is Cherub Rock, which came out in 1993 off their second album, Siamese Dream. Cherub Rock was the first single and also the opening track of the album. Billy Corgan wrote it, and he co-produced it with Butch Vig, so Butch Vig figures kind of into my conversation about this song quite a bit. But this song was kind of like their major breakthrough. It made it to number 7 on the modern rock and alternative tracks in Billboard, and also charted in the UK and in New Zealand. And it was also nominated for a Grammy, which I didn't know until doing the reading for this podcast. But it was nominated for Best Hard Rock Performance. So for me, like I think I'll just say right out the gate, this song has the sickest riff of all the songs that we're talking about today, in my opinion.
Yes, it's a very Billy Corgan riff. It's got that drony octave thing going on, and I love how it sounds.
Yeah, it sounds really good, and I really like the drum sounds too. We were talking about this the other day, but I think that Butch Vig is like so clearly a drummer by the way that he like just produces like snare hits
Yeah,
and like some of his 90s stuff.
that's right.
But I don't know. This is probably my favorite song of all the ones we're talking about today, and I think it's a really good like entry point. I think for them to like kind of make their musical presence or like a statement known. I mean, like it's a very good opening track.
Yeah. How do you feel about the move to make your lead single also the album's opening track?
I think it's a pretty audacious.
Yeah.
It's a big risk for sure because like, what if it doesn't land, right? What
Mm-hmm.
if it tanks? And then like you've completely ruined the entire vibe. But like, I think they did a pretty good job with this one.
It definitely feels like a move that fell out of favor as time passed, like in the 80s and 90s. But this used to be the way that they did it in like Motown. Like the lead single was the first track. So I wonder if there was anything like that, any of that thought process involved in making Chirp Rock the opening track of Siamese Dream. But like you said, I totally agree. It definitely works as a calling card for the band and also for the album in general. It's a statement of sorts. A funny thing that happened when this track came out, Siamese Dream is their second album. Gish was their previous album that had generated a lot of hype and had some moderate success. And it's, the record companies and the public, there was a lot of hype for their, what they were going to do next, what these kids from Chicago were going to do next, these spooky kids. The earlier version of Smashing Pumpkins was definitely a lot more goth influenced and doom and gloomy. So people were like, what's gonna be the song? What's gonna be the first single from their next album? They finally released Cherub Rock, and you accurately said it was kind of their breakthrough, but it took a little while because at first it landed like a thud. People were not into Cherub Rock as the first single of the new era of Smashing Pumpkins, and it took a little while for the track to gather steam. And I read an interview with Billy Corgan where he said, like, everybody was disappointed. The music video sank like a lead balloon. Nobody was into this at first, and there was a big question of like, I mean, this was such a contentious recording session for them. Siamese Dream was kind of a mess in terms of the interpersonal relationships and like the struggle to make it happen in the band. That it's like, okay, so what is this going to be for? Like, is this going to be the level of success we're going to achieve? Thankfully, it took a little while, but they did it. Like the song climbed up the charts and it became kind of a slow burn, a sleeper hit, so to speak. It's probably the least commercially successful a song of the 6 that we're going to be talking about today. But the one thing it has above other tracks is that it's still being played. Like you still hear Cherub Rock like on rock radio. Like this song has a life beyond its initial run. So slow and steady maybe wins the race in this case. What do you think of the lyrics? Did you take a look at what the song's about?
No, I did not read the lyrics. Why don't you tell me what it's about? Because
Yeah.
I didn't have anything intellectual to say about this song. I just think it's a good rock song.
Yeah, no, and that works. It's a song. It's a song about how like major labels and corporations are swallowing up the independent music scene and the spirit of the early 90s indie scene. They talk about hipsters unite, come align for the big fight to rock for you. But beware, all those angels with their wings glued on. I mean, it's basically a snide dismissal or almost even a lamentation of this scene that they were a part of being co-opted and swallowed up by corporations and people with moneyed interests. And I think that's kind of cool, even though if you think about it, the chorus is "Who wants honey?" repeated over and over again, which.
Isn't he like a libertarian or something? Like
Billy Corgan has become considerably more conservative as time has gone on. I don't know what his personal politics are right now, but at the time, I think he was definitely more left wing than he is currently. And in the case of this song, the fact that it's all about, who wants honey as long as there's some money, who wants that honey. The vocals are buried enough in the mix that you don't really think about the silliness of a rock song repeating who wants honey over and over again. But it works. I really like it. I really like Sheriff Rock, and I'm glad that we considered it one of the contenders, because there was another one that almost took its place. We'll discuss that in our honorable mentions. All in all, the fact that this song has stuck around in the culture, the fact that it was pretty successful when it came out, became more successful with time, and the fact that the riff of it just displays what the Smashing Pumpkins are so good at, I think makes it a pretty good contender for the Smashing Pumpkins signature song.
I like it less now that I know what the lyrics are.
Because of the use of the word honey?
It just sounds like really, like the lyrical conceit is so silly. Like I always find it, we've talked about this before, how I hate when like rock stars like write these like meta analytical like statements about being like about fame and the irony of him being like, oh my god, these like sellouts, these hipster sellouts, like just wow. That's so silly. I'm sorry.
No, I think it's cool. I don't know what you're talking about. I like the lyrics because actually I had the opposite effect, or experienced the opposite effect. The lyrics made me like the song more. At first, I didn't know what this song was about. I just kind of understood that it had something to do with honey, vaguely. There's honey mentioned at some point. But then to read that, it was kind of like a look at what was going on around them culturally. And a bit of a fuck you to the rock radio that would eventually make them multimillionaires. I don't know. I think that's an interesting topic. I don't know many songs that talk about that, especially when this happened. I mean, think about it. Early 90s, major labels looking for the next Nirvana, everything being commodified, or a culture that existed as an kind of underground independent thing suddenly being commodified. I don't know. It's an interesting perspective to me.
We can agree to disagree.
Maybe you will feel differently about our next contender for Smashing Pumpkins signature song.
Spoiler, I don't.
All right. Released as the second single for Siamese Dream, Today is one of those songs where the Smashing Pumpkins contradictions suddenly become commercially legible. There's these huge guitars, this gleaming pop hook, these lyrics that are maybe a little darker than the music initially lets on. And this is the band like actually becoming a household name after that first breakthrough with Cherub Rock. This really catapulted them into the MTV era with like an iconic music video, the first of many music videos that you might consider iconic from the Smashing Pumpkins, when Cherub Rock was actually just like a distorted Super 8 footage of them playing in the woods, rocking out in the woods. There's something, grunge and alt rock about this song. Like, this is very identifiably like 90s alternative rock. But there's, to me at least, Lane was going to disagree in a moment, something more ornate, more dramatic, and more Billy Corgan about how they do it. This was not a huge hit in the Hot 100, but it did hit number 4 on Billboard's modern rock chart, and it helped turn Siamese Dream into the album that made the Pumpkins feel like major players. I will say that this is, out of these tracks, my least favorite one. I think Today is nice, but I was never super into it. It's a song that has that sort of, pop rock 4-chord structure to it in the chorus. And it's one that a lot of people point to as one of their best, but I was never super convinced by it. How do you like Today? Hit me with your bad opinion.
My bad opinion. Wow. Well, first of all, I will say that my housemate's grandson, so I live with 2 lesbians who are in their 70s, and they're my BFFs, and their grandson was visiting recently for their 30th wedding anniversary, and Ricky told Isaiah that we were doing a podcast on the Smashing Pumpkins signature song, and she asked me what my pick was. And I did tell her, I'm sorry for spoiling it. But Isaiah said that his pick was Today.
Mm-hmm.
And I find it interesting that a 15-year-old picked Today as their signature song. So I'm wondering if this song, like, you know, it's the question I ask you every episode. Is this song like on the internet?
I think these songs all have to some extent, you know, kind of a presence in the World Wide Web right now. But that's surprising to me too. Interesting Today for a 15-year-old kid. Well, I mean, it is catchy. It's a catchy song, and you might imagine it showing up on, you know, TV shows and whatnot. I don't have anything on my notes here about it being some sort of TikTok dance, although I can't imagine. I can't imagine doing a TikTok dance to this. I mean, this is very much like a 90s quiet, loud, quiet kind of arrangement, right? Like, there's nothing particularly special about this one in terms of the sound. What I like about it is how chimey and happy it is at points, but then moves into something kind of more sinister and darker with the pre-chorus when he goes, "I wanna turn you on," and which are actually our guitarists. But to me always sounded like a female vocal in that part. And actually, when Tegan and Sarah did their cover of Today, they sang that little guitar lick at that point. Tegan and Sarah, famously very big fans of the Smashing Pumpkins and of Siamese Dream in general. They talked about wanting to cover the entire album.
Well, we've circumvented my opinion on it. I haven't even shared my opinion. Like, I talked about Isaiah. Like,
oh, no. Please go on. You're being so tight-lipped to this episode that I assumed that was it.
But that wasn't an opinion. That was an anecdote.
Go ahead.
And then I'm gonna recite a fact before I recite an opinion.
All right.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So I hear, like I mentioned in the intro, this like really strong shoegaze influence. Like, the vocals are like gauzy, the way that like something on Loveless would be. But I think the structure of the song to me sounds more like a Pixies song, in a way. That being said, I think the vocals are just intolerable. I think it's so whiny, and the song to me seems like it just drags on and on for me when I listen to it. I really don't like it.
It doesn't have the propulsive sound of Cherub Rock. But what I like about it, and what really makes me look forward to those final moments of it, is that almost orchestral explosion of guitar arpeggio that comes in at the very end, where it's like, all of a sudden there's all these colors, you know, all of a sudden there's like, it explodes into something that feels more celebratory and like chimey and colorful and interesting, with all these different layers of emotion at the end. I like that ending a lot, but I kind of agree with how you describe it as dragging. It kind of drags. There's not enough interesting stuff happening under, you know, like with Jimmy Chamberlain smashing the drums in the first track and Cherub Rock. Like, you could definitely hook to that and like listen to that and feel like, okay, that's interesting, before your ear moves on to the next thing. This was just kind of more of a plodding kind of song. And while I like it generally, my feelings about it are generally positive. It is my least favorite of these 6 tracks. But I think it does have a case for signature song, just because it was so big, and because to this day people associate Today and its lyrics with the general Smashing Pumpkins like early 90s kind of sound.
It's not even my least favorite of these songs. So we're still on Siamese Dream for our third pick, Disarm, which was the third single from that album. Released in 1994 as a single. Once again, Billy Corgan wrote the song and co-produced it with Butch Vig. This song was moderately successful. You know, it cracked the Hot 100. It made it to 48 and was also in the top 10 in the rock tracks on the Billboard. And it also charted in the UK, Australia, and Canada, notably. Apparently this song was banned from Top of the Pops by the BBC. Man, I feel like every episode we're talking about the BBC banning something, right?
Yeah.
Like the Kate Bush episode, Tears for Fears.
Yeah.
Now this. Yeah. But it's still like charted like pretty highly in the UK. It made it to number 11. And Disarm is about Billy Corgan's relationship with his mom and dad, which is apparently pretty complex. I think the song is like kind of interesting. You know, we've got like the strings coming in. I was wondering if they have like other songs that feel like as cinematic as this one, because like I feel like, you know, like I don't know, you would hear this is like the like closing scene of a movie or something like that. I think it's very distinct from the other arrangements. Both of the songs that we're covering today, but also just like their grunge peers. Like I don't, you know, there aren't really many songs in grunge that sound like this.
Yeah, I can't imagine Soundgarden doing a song that sounds like this, or Alice in Chains, or Pearl Jam. But also this happens all over their catalog, and this is why I know we're going to talk about your opinion in a moment. Sorry, I don't mean to take that away from you. I don't. That's why I sort of balk at the idea of calling them a grunge band, because to me they're so much bigger. There's a lot of different sounds you hear in their music that don't pop up in grunge music of the era at all. Like I can't imagine Nirvana doing a song like 33, you know, this like intimate piano and guitar ballad. To me, they're a broader kind of category of pop rock or alternative, whatever you call it, whatever you want to mean by alternative rock. I think they're in there. Grunge to me feels like a label that doesn't really fit them. But anyway, go on. Sorry. Disarm.
I think I like the lyrics to this one the best. I think that it's one of the more interesting songs. Like I would put it still below Cherub Rock in terms of like which ones I would say like are my like which is my favorite, but like this is probably my second favorite of the ones that we are covering today. I think it's pretty good.
Yeah. I like it a lot. I think it's a song that points to their later ambitions. You hear a lot of what the Smashing Pumpkins would attempt later on in Disarm. Like there's points of this that point to, you know, you can follow along to Melancholy and Adore and later on even. But I think it's cool that the song in its composition avoids the sort of clean major or minor emotional labels, because there's some added suspended tones here that blur the feeling, even though it's sort of an open chord based song. So it's not just like a sad minor song or an uplifting major song. It lives in that zone that the Smashing Pumpkins often live in, where there's bitterness, but there's tenderness happening at the same time. In that sense, it reminds me of The Cure. And of course, Billy Corgan, famously a huge fan of The Cure and has collaborated with Robert Smith in the past. So I don't know. I really like this song. I think the string arrangement is gorgeous. It's so pretty, especially towards the end. I like the percussion and the added, like you said, cinematic feeling that it gives to the song. It's very grand. I wonder what it is about the song that got it banned. I can't think of any objectionable lyrics on the song, but maybe something about the killer, singing about the killer and me. Maybe that's something that people didn't like in Great Britain. Who knows?
The lyric that they didn't like is cut that little child.
They thought he was being literal. Hey, cut that child. Like that little boy over there, cut him with a scissor. I don't know. That's a silly thing, but I'm always against the BBC banning songs. I'm a fan. I'm a fan of Disarm. And this one was one that I heard a lot as a kid. This one was still being played on MTV when I was a kid. In the early 2000s, early to mid 2000s. It was still, you know, showing all the time. Cool music video too. It's probably a very badly dated use of green screen nowadays. Like I feel like if it pulled it up right now, you could probably see the contours of the people floating around, the green contours. But still at the time, pretty innovative and interesting. Black and white look and all that. It fits the song's overall feeling. So big fan of Disarm. Well done, Billy Corgan and company. And I'm glad that it's not the one you hated most out of these. Although I feel like I know which one it's going to be.
Yes.
That said, let's move on to our next contender for the Smashing Pumpkins signature song.
The world is a vampire.
Released as the lead single from their third album, Melancholy and the Infinite Sadness, in October of 1995, Bullet with Butterfly Wings. This is the song where the Smashing Pumpkins turned their angst into something almost imperial. They're bigger, they're louder, they're more theatrical, and somehow even more miserable. Coming off of the breakthrough of Siamese Dream, they're no longer just part of the alternative rock explosion. They're trying to make something a lot grander. They made a double album that they wanted to stand next to the grandest rock statements of the 70s. And they did this right in the middle of the MTV alt-rock era. This song was the perfect battering ram for this mission statement. The fact that it lives on as a catchphrase. Actually, there's a couple different catchphrases that became memes in this track, but this is a song that still lives on, still exists in the culture. You still hear it referenced. Billy Corgan's voice here is at its most sneering and wounded and angry. And this is a chorus that, it's built to make the feeling of alienation feel massive. This was their first U.S. top 40 hit. It peaked at number 22 on the Billboard Hot 100. And it's a massive song also because it won a Grammy. It won the Grammy for Best Hard Rock Performance. So, the world is a vampire. And here we are to discuss it. Lane, am I correct that this is the song you least like out of these six?
You are correct. I think this is...
I knew it.
This is the most annoying, whiny, juvenile song of all time. Yeah. Like, I hate this song so much.
This is coming from a big AFI fan, by the way. Just FYI.
I was just going to say that, that was another reason why I can't pretend to be superior. But, I think this is probably the first Smashing Pumpkins that I probably would have ever recognized and remembered as them, too. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, just the impression that I have of them forever is exemplified by this. It's hot garbage. I'm sorry.
Interesting. I think there's so much cool stuff happening here musically. There are a lot of really cool touches. There's a great video. I don't know if you know. Well, I know that you don't. A YouTuber called 12 Tone. He's a music and analysis YouTuber, and he did a whole video about Bullet with Butterfly Wings and the way that it's constructed musically. It's some interesting touches. I recommend it to the listeners, sorry. But before we get into that, do you have any theories as to why the song is titled Bullet with Butterfly Wings?
I could not care less. I did not explore this intellectually. I was just like, oh, another angsty title.
But still, I wonder why. It's not in the lyrics, so I'm curious if you had any thoughts on that. But I don't know. I like the chorus a lot. I think it's really cool how it has this hanging bar at the end. I think it's really cool that the little shift up of tempo of time that it does. This is one of those songs that they recorded without a click track, and you can kind of hear it because it's not. It does if they speed up a little bit and they slow down a little bit in a way that feels very human. In a way that it's in a way that you kind of understand that they're kind of going along with the dynamics that they feel in the song. And the fact that it won the Grammy for Best Hard Rock Performance, the fact that it was their first top 40 hit, how you said that your feelings about the band and what you think of them are kind of exemplified in the song. All of that to me points to this being a good contender for being their signature song. But also,
100%.
Yeah, also, 100%. how he sounds in this song. His voice to me is just so Billy Corgan. Like if I wanted to talk to somebody about how Billy Corgan as a singer, this is the song that best shows it. He's a little flat sometimes. And also, he goes from sounding so gentle and almost angelic at points to sounding like a vengeful demon at other points. I like that contrast.
He has a lot of range. I will say that. Like, he has a lot of, like, vocal flexibility. Like, in this, like in his own, like, limited palette that, like, to me, like, he makes it much more expansive than, like, you would expect. Like I do hear a lot to admire in the different ways that he approaches songs, like from an emotional register.
It's funny because it's like, to me, in a lot of cases when I hear Smashing Pumpkins songs, I think that he is the weak point. His vocals are the weak point, not his songwriting, his vocals. I'm like, oh man, this would sound so good if it had like a more traditionally competent singer on top. But then I think they would also sound so much less unique. They would sound so much more generic. Billy Corgan's whine and that kind of wobbly thing he does and that kind of nasally tone that he does, and that's that way that he has of like roaring, sometimes like snarling like a wounded dog. I think all of that is part of what makes the Smashing Pumpkins the Smashing Pumpkins. I would not replace him after thinking about it a little more. I would not replace him with anybody because the songs just like they would lose a very important color to their to what they do.
I would agree. Like I think that I'm trying to imagine these songs sung by like any number of other people who might be like more technically competent, like, I don't know, like Chester Bennington or, Chris Cornell or like, Davey from AFI, right? Like, just like, because like if you're thinking about like people who have like carried similar like angsty sorts of like lyrical content into the songs that they're writing, and I don't feel like the Smashing Pumpkins would make sense as a cohesive unit without a voice like Billy Corgan's tying it together.
Yeah, I agree.
I completely am with you on that. He's not replaceable in this band.
Another thing I like about this song, and again, we're defaulting to the same stuff over and over again, but that's fine because that's part of their strength, is Jimmy Chamberlain and his drumming on this one. He doesn't use a snare for like most of the verses, and then in the chorus it explodes. He does some really cool rolls near the end. Like, I think, I don't know, maybe I'm just biased because I like it, but if I didn't like this song, I think I still can imagine myself just like listening for the musicianship and thinking, oh, this is kind of cool. Like, there's some cool stuff here. In any case, Melancholy and the Infinite Sadness, one of the defining double albums of the 90s, and one of the defining albums for the Smashing Pumpkins. And that's why our next track is also from that album.
Our fifth pick for Smashing Pumpkins' signature song is 1979. This was the second single released off of Melancholy and the Infinite Sadness. This song was really commercially successful for them. It made it to number 12 on the US Hot 100 and topped both mainstream and alternative modern rock charts here in the US. It also even cracked the top 10 on the top 40 pop charts, which is definitely interesting considering their history up until this point. And it did well in other countries too, in the UK, Canada, New Zealand. It was nominated for a couple of Grammys, including Record of the Year. And it also won at the VMAs for Best Alternative Video. And this song was their highest charting song on the US Hot 100. But originally, they weren't even planning on releasing this song. It came together pretty late in the process of making the album. And, it wound up being a really big success for them.
Maybe their biggest hit ever, I think.
I think so. I think this is probably their most commercially successful song. Do you feel like this song is like truly representative of their sonic or expressive thesis statement in their like I feel like this song kind of sits separately from the other ones that we're talking about today for some reason, and but I don't know enough about like their discography to know if it's actually like representative of who they are from an aesthetic standpoint, or like, you know, again, like a defining like obviously it's one of our contenders, but
Yeah.
I'm struggling with this.
No, I understand. I understand what you're going for. I think to answer your question, I think it's representative of a side of their songwriting. I think it's representative of a certain type of song that they do sometimes. I think it's representative of Billy Corgan's more pop rock, sort of chorus influenced, poppy leanings. So he has another song. They have another song on their next album, Adore, called Perfect, which almost sounds like a sequel to 1979. It's very similar. It occupies a similar space sonically and sort of tonally. And then much later on, he has another song called Silvery Sometimes, Ghosts, which is also very in this vein. He's good at writing this kind of catchy pop rock song. He doesn't shy away from it, but he only does it doesn't define their songwriting in general. It's just something that they do sometimes. I think clearly 1979 is the best example of it. Lane, this is going to be another one where we disagree. I love this song so hard.
I didn't say, how do you know we disagree? I haven't said my opinion yet.
Oh, I was just imagining. I just assumed that you didn't like it. But this song is in my heart. I love this song. I think it's really lovely. I love how it's put together. The chords I think are so interesting. Well, it's not even really a chord. It's built around almost like Cherub Rock. It's built around kind of an octave moving up and down the neck and doing a little twisty thing. I think the chorus is super lovely. I think the bridge is amazing. When he goes into the bridge, the way the song lifts. Maybe I'm just like thinking back to the music video and how it's perfectly timed with a flying roll of toilet paper. Yeah, I don't know if you know what I'm talking about, but
no.
that part in the music video is just so lovely. I'm in love with 1979.
I like this song. To me, it sounds sort of like one of the catchier Pixies songs, like something that would be on Bossa Nova, maybe. I think it has a really nice bass line and tone. I think the riff is one that you would like recognize anywhere, and I think it's pretty catchy, but I feel like it doesn't really like, you know, this is like as close to like mainstream, like pop rock, I guess, as we'll get.
Yeah.
But I don't think there's really like, it doesn't really converge at any sort of discernible center. Like there's kind of a chorus with the lyric, I don't care to shake these zipper blues.
Yeah.
But to me, it doesn't ever feel like it ever like latches on to something. But that being said, if it had a real chorus, I think it would still be really commercially viable today. I think the vocals and the harmonies are really nice. And I feel like this song, you really hear the influence of the Smashing Pumpkins on artists like Snail Mail or Soccer Mommy, like when you hear songs like this.
Yeah.
You know,
I hear that.
Yeah. So it's got this like kind of like dream pop sort of like, but like with an edge, you know?
Yeah. I'm super curious why you wouldn't consider the We Don't Even Care part a chorus. To me, that's totally a chorus.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I just feel like the song doesn't change enough, like structurally. Like to me, it doesn't seem musically distinct enough to be a chorus, but
I understand. Well, the main verse guitar part is something I want to zero in on a little bit. I love that little bent note figure in the verse. The octave riff that runs through the verses is nice, but then when it does that little bend at the end of the line, to me, it's just like, oh, that little extra touch of spice that I really like. The way this song is built and the way that this song is orchestrated, I think is just so lovely. It's melancholy, but like nostalgia, but also
and the infinite sadness.
Very good. Very good. The lyrics are just kind of basic. They're about, suburban teenage experiences. He talked about, the music video is kind of along those lines too. He talked about wanting to put on video sort of the idyllic teenage years that he never had, that Billy Corgan never had, presumably because he was getting beaten up and pushed into the lockers, or got his head stuck in the toilet. Who knows? Who knows what Billy Corgan was up to as a teenager? But I love 1979 so hard. I think this is by far their biggest pop hit. That's indisputable. You can see that in the numbers. As to whether that makes it their signature song, I don't know. It's definitely one that will continue to live on. Have you ever seen that video of Billy Corgan? It's a point of view video from a roller coaster, and the video is titled "Billy Corgan Rides a Roller Coaster." Do you know what I'm talking about?
Well, I've seen other versions of this with like Ian Curtis.
Yes. There he goes. Wee.
Yeah.
There's one with Billy Corgan where they do the chorus of 1979 when he goes wee. It's so good. There's something about Billy Corgan that makes him so memeable, man. He's a funny guy. All right, 1979, big fan. Now let's move on to our sixth and final contender for the Smashing Pumpkins signature song. Released as a single from Melancholy and the Infinite Sadness, Tonight is the Smashing Pumpkins at their most grand and orchestral and cinematic. The point where their alternative rock angst gets blown up into this moonlit old Hollywood spectacle. And by this moment, the band was a total commercial force, so people were really looking at them. 1979 was already a hit. This video comes out, and all of a sudden, it's all anyone can talk about. The music video to this song, because like the song, it has this really gorgeous old-timey feeling. Of course, it's based on the work of the Lumiere brothers, the early films, and the Voyage to the Moon. And it has this like really dramatic, romantic sound to it. It's a song that puts together drums, like heavy drums, Jimmy Chamberlin drums, with an orchestra and this lush sound stage. I love Tonight, and of course, it won all kinds of awards, not only for the song, but also for the music video, breakthrough video, video of the year, best direction, best special effects, best art direction, best cinematography. And it was also nominated for the Grammy for best music video short film. So Tonight, both the song and music video were kind of significant as far as its release and its success and the way that people viewed the Smashing Pumpkins. Is it their signature song? Let's talk about it. How do you feel about Tonight as a song?
I mean, the thing that struck me the most is probably obvious, but it's the orchestra, the Chicago Symphony Orchestra. It's definitely grandiose. Like I described Disarm as being cinematic, and I think, Tonight just like eclipsed that, right? I think it makes a lot of sense sonically that Flood worked with them on this because, and you're gonna get mad at me, but I think it sounds like a U2 song.
I don't think it does, but go on. I'm interested in hearing this.
Yeah, or like the predecessor to the Goo Goo Dolls' Iris, right? Like, I feel like it set the groundwork for that song to come out a couple years later. But yeah, I don't know. It's okay. Like, it doesn't really like move me in any sort of direction. Like, I don't feel like deeply offended by it the way that I do Butterfly Wings.
Yeah.
But I also like, I wouldn't pull this one up if I wanted to listen to something by them. For me, the ones that I would pick are my top three, like Cherub Rock, Disarm, and 1979. I think those are
Interesting.
Yeah, my top three. So
I love, like I said earlier, I love Tonight Tonight. I think it's lovely. I love the verses and how the guitar kind of sounds like a harp a little bit. I like Jimmy's drumming throughout. I think it gives it a lot of, power. The lyrics are like this, like reckless abandon, let's go have an adventure together kind of thing. They're very doe-eyed, romantic. I think it's lovely how it's totally unguarded and unself-conscious, like a lot of like 90s rock is. It just seems to completely shed any pretensions of like, let's be cool. It's just like, no, let's make this like grand orchestral, like purely sugary, like love song. It's a love song. And I like that it repeats the line about the urgency of now that came up in 1979 earlier. I wonder if he wanted to tie those songs together, if he just like ran out of words. It's like, let's throw that in there. I don't know. I'm a big fan of Tonight Tonight, as you can tell from my words here. I don't think it sounds like a U2 song, but I get what you're pointing to. There was definitely, if you put this song and Losing My Religion by REM together, you probably get Iris by Goo Goo Dolls. The orchestra and the sound of the mandolin. But I don't think that's a diss on them. I mean, I think this song stands on its own grounds. Even when you strip it down, there are some versions that are just like Billy Corgan on the guitar playing it at some radio station. And it's just like a really nice composition anyway. It's got that uplift. It's got that swell to it, that cinematic swell, and dun, 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 the way the chords move. Very powerful, very lovely. I'm a fan. I don't know what to tell you.
I'm not a fan. Well, I guess I'm not a fan, but I'm not like, I hate it.
Yeah. I don't know. There's Teenage Melancholy. There's Prog Ambition. There's Arena Rock. There's Art School Romanticism. It's all in there. It's all in the giant stew that is Tonight Tonight. And that's why I like it so much. I do think it is kind of an outlier. I look to their career and I can't find many songs that share this space. I mean, maybe Disarm, but just because of the orchestral sound. But not really anything else. It's kind of an odd one out for them. And I'm glad they made it because I love it. I think it may be my favorite, let me rank the songs today. Let me rank these six contenders just in order of my own personal preference. Number 1, Tonight Tonight. Number 2, 1979. Those are my top two. Number 3 is going to be Cherub Rock. Number 4, Disarm. Number 5 is going to be Bullet with Butterfly Wings, and number 6 is going to be Today. Those are my preferences. And where would you put this one? You've already outlined sort of your ranking. Where would you put this one? Somewhere in the middle, maybe towards the end.
4.
All right.
Like it's still fine. Yeah. But to me, Today and Bullet with Butterfly Wings are both so like appalling. Like I feel like they're like by themselves.
Off in an island somewhere.
Yeah.
Far from the rest. Stranded. All right. We've talked about 6 contenders for the Smashing Pumpkins signature song. Let's talk about whether there were some other songs that we considered. And you and I were in discussion about one specific song where it came down to this one or Cherub Rock, and it was Zero. We were wondering whether to include Zero or Cherub Rock. Zero is also from Melancholy, and my points in its favor were that, the Zero shirt is kind of an iconic look for Billy Corgan. The song Zero, the shirt Zero. It shows up in the music video for Bullet with Butterfly Wings. Speaking of music videos, I think Zero was the first music video where Billy debuted his bald look. I'm not certain, but I think it was. And also, it's just kind of an iconic song for them. It was in The Simpsons, for instance. They play this song in The Simpsons. But then Cherub Rock felt a little more present. It felt like it's won the war long term, in comparison to Zero. I think it has more of a presence these days and speaks a little more to who the Smashing Pumpkins are. So Zero is an honorable mention, but it almost made it to our list of contenders. I'm guessing you don't, but are there any songs that you considered possibly including?
Mayonnaise.
Mayonnaise, my favorite Smashing Pumpkin song. And also one of my favorite songs in the world ever. Mayonnaise is a good pick. I would not include it just because it lacks the commercial component. Like it wasn't released as a single. It didn't chart anywhere. It's been on movies and TV show. Most recently, it was like the song that played at the very end of the first season of Beef, the Netflix
and it's like
show.
A fans song, it's like a Smashing Pumpkins fans like song.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And then also, I already mentioned Perfect, which was one of the singles from Adore that, number one, it almost feels like a 1979 redo. And then number two, it just didn't have the impact that 1979 did, so I left it off. The End is the Beginning is the End, which is a song they made for one of the Batman films, was also kind of a hit, and it has that more industrial sound that we didn't explore in this podcast because none of the contenders have it. But yeah, they didn't quite make it. And there's a couple others like, The Everlasting Gaze and all that. They're important fan songs, but they don't really make it to the point of representing the band as a whole. Having said all that, I have my pick for what the Smashing Pumpkins signature song is. Who do you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. So my pick, I think it was actually pretty easy for me to narrow this down because, despite my biases and my feelings about many of these songs, even though there are some contenders that I clearly dislike, there were actually more that I felt positively towards. And, it was more of a question of like cohering with my personal musical DNA. And, but for me, like immediately, whenever I think of the Smashing Pumpkins and, I think this unfortunately does play into sort of that debate that we have a lot about like commercial success versus, like what actually like represents how the band sounds, like all these like factors that like come into play when we make these decisions. But for me, I think that it's probably going to be 1979. I think that it is probably, besides Bullet with Butterfly Wings, I think it's the most recognizable Smashing Pumpkins song. It's their most commercially successful song. To me, it is a distillation of many of the musical elements that you can sort of hear in these other contenders into something that is more concentrated and more pop, right? But I still think that that is the song that would define them to the world, and that I think most people would know.
Interesting.
If they were to have to name a Smashing Pumpkins song. So that's my pick.
Yeah, I think you made some really good points. And 1979 was almost my pick. It's by far their most famous song. It's their most commercially successful song. And it's, you may be right that it's their most recognizable song, or one of them. I think that, to me, I really factored in what I think is the more memeable aspects of the Smashing Pumpkins, and I really factored in sort of the misery of a lot of their lyrics and some of the doom and gloom that isn't present in a song like 1979, and the darkness of their aesthetic and their overall kind of their overall heavier sound. And so for that reason, my pick for their signature song is Bullet with Butterfly Wings. I just think there's the image of the band and their floweriness, and to use one of your terms, their whininess, their penchant for dramatics and for a certain type of guitar rock songwriting. I think it's all there in Bullet with Butterfly Wings, and it's also a massive commercial hit. And also, it's got that thing with Billy Corgan's voice being front and center and showing off everything that we know as a Billy Corgan vocal performance is in there. So I land on Bullet with Butterfly Wings. I am curious what a listener would think. Do you go for the most famous song, or do you go for a song that maybe showcases more of what they do? Let us know. Let us know in the comments. Please let us know what you think their signature song is.
Yeah, Jorge, I'm just curious. Like, I have a follow-up question about, because Bullet with Butterfly Wings was my, second choice, right, for signature song. And I didn't ask you this during the discussion of the song, but I was just thinking, when you were talking about, his vocal performance, does he scream that viciously in, other songs in their catalog?
Oh, yeah. He has
really?
a lot of, yes, okay. He has a lot of songs where he screams that are basically he does a death metal thing on them, like Silverfuck. Well, if you listen to Melancholy as you did many, many years ago, well, it's been so long you probably don't remember, but there's a few songs where he really goes scorched earth, including Bodies, including Ode to No One. He's a screamer. He can get pretty intense sometimes. But yeah, look, if you listened so far, thank you for listening. Please reach out to us at Signature Song Pod on Instagram. Leave a comment here on Spotify. Rate us 5 stars. Recommend us to your friends. That's how the Signature Song Podcast and any podcast you listen to is going to grow. Is if you send the link to a friend that you know is interested in people talking about, meaningless music stuff. Hey, you like hearing two people, vaguely knowledgeable people talk about music? Check out this podcast. Send them the link. Let us know we're here. That's vaguely how we're going to grow. Knowledgeable
is giving me too much credit, I feel.
I'm just trying to keep it real. As always, Lane, thank you so much for spending time with me, even though this one was kind of difficult and painful for me at times.
I'm sorry you had to hear those horrible things I said about the Smashing Pumpkins.
It's okay. I hope we have more of these where we disagree so intensely. Listen, we have an episode coming up soon. The next episode that is going to be our first non-English speaking artist. Do you want to share with the audience who it is?
Selena.
Yeah, we're staying in the 90s. But a totally different side of the 90s.
Oh, she's so influential. I'm so excited that we get to talk about her.
It's going to be fun, and I'm looking forward to it because at this point, I will come out and say I am not that familiar with a lot of Selena's career. I know the basics. So the next couple of weeks are going to be a lot of research on my part, and I'm hoping that I come away with a new favorite artist of the 90s Mexican pop explosion.
Do you think there's Selena memes? There must be, right?
Oh, I'm sure there are. Absolutely. No, for sure. Certainly there are. I'm going to look them up and I'm going to send you a bunch.
Okay.
We can rank them in the next episode. All right. Thanks again and talk to you next time.
Later, guys. Thank you.